Good evening everyone, I'm James Ford-Bannister, BAFRA Director of Training for 2020 and 2021. In this video we will revisit question 70 from the BAFRA Annual Examination of 2020. So let's break down the question. We're inside the last minute of the first half. Team B are trailing. First and 10 at Team B's 20-yard line. A25 receives a handoff in the backfield and runs to Team B's 23-yard line, where he throws a backwards pass to A9, who is running a reverse. The pass sails high, which causes A9 to jump up at B's 27-yard line, where he bats the ball forwards. The ball lands a few yards in front of A9, where B65 muffs the ball, and it rolls across the sideline at Team B's 21-yard line. You will see I have highlighted the key areas of this question. As with all plays, it's often easier to see them in visual format, so let's take a look at this one. The centre is going to snap the ball to the QB, who's going to hand it off to A25. A25 is then going to run forwards to the B23-yard line. Meanwhile, A9 is going to run a reverse, when A25 is going to throw a backwards pass, but it's going to be high, and A9 is going to jump up and bat the ball forwards, where B65 will make an attempt on the ball, but muffs it, and the ball rolls out of bounds at the B21-yard line. So what's the result of the play? Well, there's a couple of key definitions we need to know and understand before we can work that out. So let's start with Rule 2.11.2, which tells us that to muff the ball is to touch the ball in an unsuccessful attempt to catch or recover it. Muffing the ball does not change its status. And Rule 2.11.3 tells us that batting the ball is intentionally striking it or intentionally changing its direction with the head, hands or arms, and that batting the ball also does not change its status. Finally, in Rule 7.2.4a, it tells us that when a backwards pass goes out of bounds between the goal lines, the ball belongs to the passing team at the out of bounds spot. Therefore, the result of the play is a backwards pass out of bounds at Team B's 21-yard line, second and 9 at B's 21-yard line. I've highlighted the key areas in the question that relate to this statement. But wait, is there a foul on the play? Well, Rule 9.4.2 tells us that a backwards pass in flight shall not be batted forward by the passing team, which is what occurs on this play, and results in a 10-yard penalty. So what do we need to do next? Well, we need to identify the basic spot, which on a related run behind the neutral zone is the previous spot, B's 20-yard line, as detailed in Rule 10.2.d.1a. The foul occurs at B's 27-yard line, where A bats the ball forwards. And the enforcement is 10 yards from the spot of the foul, as shown in Rule 10.2.c.1, as it is a foul by the team in possession behind the basic spot. You would repeat the down, as noted in Rule 5.2.3. The result of this enforcement is first and 17 from B's 37-yard line. So what do we know? Well, let's look at parts A and B of this multiple choice question. Part A states the next down will be first down, and we know this to be true. The down is repeated due to the bat by Team A, and the penalty statement does not include a loss of down. Part B states the next snap will be at Team B's 37-yard line, which we also know to be true. The bat is enforced from the spot of the foul as is behind the basic spot. It's important to note that there are a series of penalties that can be enforced from the previous spot under 10.2.2b. These are illegal use of hands, holding, illegal blocks, and personal fouls. This penalty is none of those. As luck would have it, both A and B were true, leaving C and D technically irrelevant, but we'll look at them anyway. Rule C stated that Team B have the option of a 10-second runoff, and we know this to be false, because Team A have not committed any of the items listed under Rule 3.4.4. These include any foul that prevents the snap, intentional grounding to stop the clock, an incomplete illegal forwards pass, a backwards pass thrown out of bounds to stop the clock, and any other foul committed with the intent of stopping the clock. Had the backwards pass been thrown out of bounds to stop the clock, this would have been an option. And finally, Part D. D states, as Team B are trailing, they will have the option of whether to start the game clock on the snap or on the ready for play. And this is false because the clock will start on the snap, as a backwards pass has been ruled out of bounds, which is covered under Rule 3.3.2 D2. Thank you for listening to this breakdown of question 70 from the BAFRA Annual Examination of 2020. I hope that you've learned something and that you return to us in the future for more of these video breakdowns. Have a great evening. I've been James Ford-Bannister, BAFRA Director of Training for 2020 and 2021.